Hi everyone, welcome back to Engineering with Jen. Today we're going to be talking about the fundamentals of engineering exam, also known as the FE exam or the EIT. We're going to be talking about this exam mainly because this has been one of the most questioned items that students come to me with questions, asking for seminars and presentations on. It is definitely a hot topic, and I feel like the spectrum of student information is very broad. Definitely there are students who come from institutions where it is just an automatic activity that you participate in your junior, senior year, while there's other institutions where the exam is rarely talked about. Because of that, I hope that this video will help bridge that gap, help provide insight across the board, and for those who are really new to the exam, I hope this brings a lot of information to you and hopefully will help motivate you to participate in the exam soon. With that being said, this is a topic that is going to take a couple videos to cover. So this will become a short series of videos that will be related to the FE exam. So feel free to skim through this video as well as future ones to get a concept of where your questions lie and where you can gather the most information from. So let's dive into it. So let's start off with the terminology. The Fundamentals of Engineering Exam, FE exam, is also called the EIT exam, and that confuses a lot of people because they think it's separate exams or they can't find the EIT, and the reason is EIT stands for Engineer in Training, and that is what you are called after you have successfully passed the FE exam. It is not officially titled the EIT. Because of that, the EIT is more of a common term used among students and faculty, but not necessarily used officially in any of the literature. So please keep that in mind. From here forward, I'm going to make sure to refer to it as the FE exam, but if by chance I slip and call it EIT, hopefully you will know that we are talking about the same exam. What is the FE exam? It is a standardized test that has the goal of entering students into their first step of becoming licensed professional engineers. And we'll talk about more about this process in another video, but it is a requirement in many cases for students to have this EIT approval, both maybe as an intern, but definitely coming into a full-time position as an engineer. With that in mind, there are a lot of different implications that the EIT has in resulting in being able to achieve your licensure later on. What is the purpose? The purpose of the exam is to assess your fundamental knowledge and understanding of core engineering principles. And these are essentially what we would expect any entry-level engineer to have. Because of that, this is going to essentially cover the majority of what you would consider your undergraduate courses, most tied to your upper division classes, and we'll dive a little bit more into what those materials are, as well as where you can find more information on it. In terms of the eligibility, most students are going to be eligible for this because they are attending a currently accredited engineering program with a bachelor's degree in some form of engineering. And the FE exam covers a breadth of different topics of engineering, and we'll discuss that as well in terms of the next item, which was the content areas. But it's important to note that even if you are not currently at an accredited university, you could possibly still be able to sit for the FE exam. The only problem is that you would need to be able to provide enough experience and evidence of having a background in engineering that would be sufficient to cover what would be considered a bachelor's degree in the field. Okay, let's talk about the content areas. The exam is meant to cover a broad range of topics that you will have covered throughout your undergraduate engineering program. With that being said, there are definitely going to be discipline-specific items related to the work that you're pursuing, but this also means there are topics that are going to be common to a number of the different exams. One of those topics is math. Math has a pretty basic background in terms of covering algebra, linear algebra, calculus. All of those items will be a typical item that you will see in one of these sections of the EIT or FE exam. A lot of crossover happens with static, dynamics, material science, thermodynamics, or even mechanics and materials. For electrical engineering, this also can be found in a couple different areas of the different disciplines, and so this is going to cover items such as basic circuits, signals and systems, electromagnetism, and control systems. Chemistry, as well as the tie to environmental engineering, can also be another one that crosses over to a number of disciplines due to the fact that there's the use of general chemistry, fluid mechanics, as well as environmental principles. Lastly, one of the biggest items that does cross over every single discipline is ethics. And this is essentially looking at what engineering ethics are, the standards, as well as what it relates to in terms of the professional practice. The remaining topics that are typically covered within the FE exam tend to be discipline specific. There are items that are related to pretty much what you would consider your upper division courses tied to your engineering discipline. And so as for that reason, I highly recommend that you check out the NCEES exam website. That will give you some information. I'm putting down into the comments, into the captions below, to give you some resources that will help you find the list of topics that are covered for each of the engineering disciplines for the exam. There are a lot of different discipline options for the exam itself. You can think the most immediate are the most common, which is civil, mechanical, electrical, computer engineering, but there's also exams related to environmental, chemical, and industrial. There are a few others that you definitely can find more information on the NCEES website, but I definitely recommend taking a look at the discipline-specific information, as this will be the most pertinent item to you. So one major question students do have is whether the fact that they take the FE exam in civil or mechanical or electrical ties them specifically to that engineering discipline from here forward. And the answer is no. The reality of it is that people do change disciplines and they decide later on that they find out they were working into a slightly different sector that might have some crossovers and utilizes what your engineering undergraduate experience is, but definitely grew upon that. With that being said, the EIT does not specify that you take it in civil engineering or mechanical, especially when you come to the professional engineer's license, which is a completely different topic beyond the scope of this video. But when you do go for that license and that exam, they just want to know, have you taken a FE exam? There's no question of what specific field you've taken it in, the specific discipline, because at this point, the FE exam is not a license that you're receiving at the end of this. As I noted in the beginning, the FE exam just denotes that you are an engineer in training. It is not a certification of giving you any form of license, and so because of that, you have the ability to then later on potentially go into a different engineering field, which is going to be very much tied to in what engineering discipline you get your license from your state. Now that you know a little bit about the background of the exam, let's talk about the format. The exam itself is a computer-based exam, and it consists of 110 multiple choice questions. Typically, you are given 6 hours to complete the exam. Now, first off, I do want to emphasize it is a computer-based exam. What this means is that you will be going to a local computer testing center to take this exam. And if you've never had this experience, I definitely recommend that you look into it, because it is a different experience than you would have, taking a test in your classroom, or even comparably for some other exams that you might have sat in large gymnasiums or open spaces. This one has a different feel to it. It's a bit more regulated and can be a little intimidating due to that presence and the fact that it is a different environment. We'll talk more about this when we look at some of the tips that we have related to the exam. Now, one thing that students do get nervous about is because there is a huge amount of information that is covered on this exam. How are you to memorize everything? Well, the good news is that you don't have to memorize everything. There is a reference booklet that is provided to you, and again, because it's an electronic exam now, it's provided to you as an electronic file that you will be able to search and look for equations that you might need. This is an excellent resource. It's broken down into topics and it allows you to be able to find information that is related to it. Now, how to utilize that equation, how to then implement it, or what the context of its use, that's all up to you as the test taker to apply. But the general context of the equations themselves will be provided for you. That was a lot of information. Hopefully that has given you some inspiration and insight into the exam. As I mentioned, we'll be diving into more of these topics individually over the next several videos. Drop into the comments, put a message through. Let us know if there's anything that you want covered that's missed. Keep in mind, this was the information available at the time of recording. So if you're watching this a few years in the future, definitely take a look at what the websites say now, just in case there's been any updates made to the exam itself. But I will drop into the captions some links to make it available for you to find the resources about where you learn just generally about the exam, where you can find out on the content of the exam itself, and a few more resources to help you study. So thanks again, and I hope to see you on the next video.